Nonetheless, he receives a very appreciative reception.
When the lights came up for the start of this series, who could have guessed the drama that was about to unfold? Though worthy of Broadway, it began in Indianapolis. The Pacers drew rave reviews at home, while New York critics panned the Knicks. But when the stage shifted to Manhattan, the show hit new heights. Familiar themes for Knicks fans. A returning hero victorious. A well-known villain vanquished. Hoping for more than a cameo appearance, Patrick Ewing delivered a memorable performance. Today, the drama continues to build. This game won't be just any game. It's game number 4. Another West Side story is about to be told. But it's Mother's Day, and a happy Mother's Day with the world's most honorable title. Good afternoon, everyone. Along with Pat Kukas, I'm Mike Bream. Knicks come into Game 4 with a lot of confidence, not only because they won yesterday, now trailed 2-1 in the best-of-7 series, but also because of the play of Patrick Ewing, who, Matt, improved dramatically from his debut in Game 2.
Patrick Ewing is the toast of the town, and he deserves it, both for his perseverance and his production yesterday. Looking like the Ewing of old, getting to one of his favorite spots for the pretty release, and then the strong, assertive drive, and then the follow on the John Starks drive. It doesn't get any more high percentage than that. But for the Knicks to even this series up, Patrick Ewing has to make a defensive stand, in particular against Rik Smits.
Pacers, meanwhile, they know they're still in good shape. All they needed was a split to take a commanding 3-1 lead in this series. And for them to do that, they'll obviously need a big game for Reggie Miller. But he's got to do it at crunch time.
Reggie Miller loves to perform in Madison Square Garden, and he prides himself on being a fourth-quarter terminator. It seemed his teammates forgot to get him the ball down the stretch, but New York's defense had a lot to do with that. And Mike, I think Indiana's best chance to win this game is to get Reggie Miller heavily involved, especially in the fourth quarter.
Another raucous sold-out crowd at Madison Square Garden, hoping to see the Knicks tied at 2. Pacers looking to go back to Indianapolis with a 3-1 lead. Starting lineups when we return the NBA on NBC. Mullen and Dale Davis at the forwards, Rik Smits, Miller and Mark Jackson at the guards, Larry Johnson and Charles Oakley, the starting forwards for the Knicks, Patrick Ewing in the middle, Allan Houston and Charlie Ward for the New York Knicks at the guard position. Let's send it over to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. For the Pacers, Derek McKee did not suit up today. He's got a strained right quad. He will not play today, and he is questionable for the rest of the series. He says they're just going to have to take it day to day. Now, as for Larry Bird, there was a play in the third quarter yesterday that he spoke to his team about. He became very annoyed with them over Mark Jackson waving to the crowd. That caused him not to get back on defense. Rik Smits picked up his 4th foul, was out for 12.5 minutes after that. Larry Bird determined that that was a critical point in the game. He told his guys today, particularly Jackson, pay attention to your business on the floor. Quit celebrating and worry about getting back on defense. Mike?
All right, Jim, Knicks certainly were aware of that. In fact, Terry Cummings said all that stuff is just sugar, and I don't like sugar.
Well, that's not all Larry Bird is upset with. He also made no bones about the fact that his bench was more than subpar yesterday. Of course, he doesn't have to worry about that for a few minutes, like the way his starters started. But the pick-and-roll defense of Indiana really did them in the late stages of the third quarter and a good part of the fourth period. So they have just a very short time to make that adjustment and try to keep the New York dribblers from penetrating.
Good veteran officiating crew on hand, led by one of the very best in the league, Dick Bavetta. Also Jim Clark and Terry Durham on hand. Ewing and Dale Davis will jump at center. Davis always does the center tip instead of Rik Smits. And Charles Oakley already with the hustle play, and the Knicks have the first possession. A bizarre start yesterday for the Knicks. They trailed 19-6 early. Pacers looked tremendous, as you mentioned. Same start in the second half. 19-6 runs by the Pacers opened up each half, and the Knicks battled uphill much of the game. 2 on the shot clock for Ward. Johnson does not get it off in time, and a 24-second violation.
And Jeff Van Gundy very worried about the start yesterday and the possibility of it carrying over today. The starting unit will be on a very short leash if it doesn't get off to a good start and keep the ball moving. Jeff Van Gundy won't hesitate to come with John Starks quickly and go small.
Houston starting on Miller. Reggie Miller got off to the quick start, but the quiet fourth quarter. His first shot of the day. Dale Davis, the offensive rebound. And Oakley called for a reach-in foul. Offensive rebounds is something that have been hard to come by for the Pacers.
I was going to say, Mike, you don't get the chance to say that too often with the Indiana Pacers. Only 5 in each of the last 2 games. But keep in mind, the Indiana Pacers, the poorest offensive rebounding team in the NBA all during the regular season.
Certainly some of that had to do with they were a pretty good shooting team, but there's not a strength for them.
Rik Smits, not a good offensive rebounder. Obviously, Chris Mullin. So of the starting group, only Dale Davis.
Davis with a little post move. Allan Houston helping out on the boards. Jeff Van Gundy said if Houston's not scoring, he has to do other things like rebound, which he did well in the Miami series. Johnson. Patrick Ewing not expecting the pass, but dumps it in for the first 2 points of the game.
Well, early in yesterday's game, the Pacers kept Chris Mullin off Larry Johnson, who had a mismatch against him in game 2. They put Mullin on Oakley. This time, Larry Johnson getting Mullin inside, drawing the attention of all the defense. That's why he was able to find Ewing.
Smits, the pass to Jackson, knocked off his head. Jackson tries to save it. As Oakley and Jackson get tangled up along the sideline. Ward back pass to Johnson. Charles Oakley as the trailer cannot connect, and Davis another rebound.
Now, Charles Oakley did not get 1 shot attempt yesterday in only 18 minutes of play. Did have some foul problems, but didn't figure in the big New York win much at all.
Chris Mullin had his first double-digit game in the series. Strong performance, especially early yesterday. Beautiful pass from Mullin. Someone may have gotten a piece of Miller's shot.
And the presence of Ewing either getting a piece of that or certainly making Reggie rush it.
Allan Houston from downtown. And the Knicks with a quick 5-0 lead.
A rare good look for Allan Houston in this series. The whole target of the Indiana defense is to smother Allan Houston and not give him any good looks.
Smits. Ward goes to help out. And Smits draws the foul. Patrick Ewing. Call for his first, and this was after the play started going up the floor. Oakley throwing Mark Jackson into the first row. The officials did not see it.
The little extra shot after the play, and Allan Houston being left wide open, something the Pacers have been diligent about throughout the first 3 games of the series. Anytime Rik Smits and Patrick Ewing involved in a game, it's usually been a rush to see who can get the other player in foul trouble the quickest.
And so far in the series, the numbers between the 2 7-foot-plus players. Smits again with only 22 minutes of action yesterday, only 9 points.
Well, that 3 for 19 in game 1 for Rik Smits, bringing the overall shooting percentage way down. And actually, the Indiana starters took a lot of heat for not being effective in that game 1. They didn't get to play very much because Smits was shooting and missing all the time. And then it was the Pacer bench that came in and took care of business.
Smits 1 of 2 from the line. Ewing and Smits isolated. Ewing has it knocked out of his hands. Trying for a foul as he goes down the floor. Jackson back to Mullin. A 3 for Mullin. Chris Mullin nails it. Now the Pacers, their first field goal. Took them over 2.5 minutes, but they've sliced the lead to 1.
Patrick Ewing continued to bark at the official wanting a foul. Clearly Rik Smits hacked him, but again, the Knicks not getting back in transition defense. Ewing not really responsible for Mullin getting wide open, but everybody's got to sprint back.
Houston taking Reggie Miller on a clear out, and Allan Houston has hit his first 2 shots from the field.
And Allan Houston has to do more of that. Get some isolation or some post up against Reggie Miller, challenge him defensively, and maybe try to draw some fouls on him.
Mullin again showing that great shooting touch. And it's 7-6. Knicks with a 1-point lead. 3.5 gone by. Houston quickly off the screen, and he gets fouled. Reggie Miller will pick up his first, but Allan Houston much more aggressive, looking for a shot in game 4.
Here's Allan Houston on the post-up, backing in on Reggie Miller. Allan Houston so effective going down to either baseline and using his normal height advantage just to jump over people and get that shot. Actually, he and Reggie Miller are about the same size height-wise. But Allan Houston, stronger than Reggie Miller. A lot of people stronger than Reggie Miller. And if you can punish him inside, it's what you try to do. Look what Allan Houston has been able to do in first halves throughout this series, but becoming very quiet in the second. That's why Game 5 last Sunday in Miami, Allan Houston really breaking out in the fourth quarter, coming up big.
He will not score as many points now that Ewing's back on the floor, but they need him to be a little more aggressive as Miller with the runner won't go. Charles Oakley the rebound.
And the Pacers not getting in for second shot opportunities at all.
Charlie Ward on a pull-up. You rarely see him do that. And a quick outlet to Jackson. Jackson, this is where he's hurt the Knicks, posting up Charlie Ward. Ewing goes to help. Smits sees it and lays it in.
Perfect timing on the part of Jackson. And actually, I thought Ewing waited to just the last second. He did. Just a better offensive play by Mark Jackson, drawing that double team and getting Smits on the cut.
Smits looking rather spry as he runs down the lane. Houston trying to draw the foul, rejected by Smits. And it's still Knick ball 9 on the shot clock.
Well, you're always a little sprier after you get an easy basket. Backing in on Charlie Ward, drawing Patrick Ewing, and here comes the spry Rik Smits.
Timeout Knicks. Just over 7.5 remaining in the first. Allan Houston 7 of the 9 points as they lead by 1. Postseason more than Reggie Miller, but he's off to a slow start.
And actually, Allan Houston off to a good one. He tried to assert himself early in yesterday's game. Really couldn't get any good looks at the basket, but they did make a couple of good assists to get Patrick Ewing going early in the first quarter.
Knicks having trouble getting it in. Johnson just beats the 5 count as Oakley came up to help. And there's only 4 left on the shot clock. Charlie Ward sees it, tries to get it to Ewing, and Mullen with the steal. Second time already. The Knicks have struggled getting a shot off in time. Mullen's pass for Davis. They do not connect. The Knicks quickly bring it up the other way. Johnson, the post up on Davis. Flips it up with the right hand. Won't go. Oakley the rebound. And Jackson comes the other way. Oakley asking for a foul. Davis runs the floor and gives the Pacers their first lead of the night.
And you could see how careful Mark Jackson was to make that pass perfectly to Davis, where he could catch and finish. That last pass by Mullen on the alley-oop to Dale Davis was right there, but Dale Davis couldn't handle it with shaky hands.
And the Knicks turn it over again. 4 turnovers in less than the first 6 minutes. Mullen seeing Ward posting up on the mismatch. Mark Jackson, that's a 3. Jackson from downtown. And the Pacers with a 4-point lead.
And you can see why good defensive teams, and the Knicks are that, do not like to double team. It breaks your defense down. You give open shots. They got an easy layup for Smits, and then the last field goal.
Johnson underneath. Houston off the dribble, back for Ewing. Ewing steps back. Oakley another offensive rebound. The feed to Larry Johnson. Beautiful pass from Charles Oakley. That ends a 7-0 run.
And this is what Charles Oakley has to do, especially while Ewing is on the floor. Obviously, he's not going to get as many touches or shots. He's got to make himself valuable in other areas. And on the offensive board is where he can do it.
Miller hesitated a moment. Oakley grabs another rebound. He's got 3 already. Ewing one-on-one with Smits. Tries the reverse side and draws the foul. Patrick Ewing will shoot 2.
Now Mark Jackson on the fast break, head up all the way, knows where he has people. And Charlie Ward shading to the more dangerous pass receiver on the right side, leaving Dale Davis wide open. And now the double team inside because Charlie Ward is not strong enough to push Chris Mullen, who might have about 5 post plays in his entire career. But you do have to come down on Chris Mullen. He will find a way to score against a smaller player. And you don't mind seeing Mark Jackson shoot the ball from the perimeter all that much.
That foul on Smits is first. Smits, in 7 playoff games thus far, has fouled out 3 times. Larry Bird reminding him after the game yesterday he needs him on the floor, obviously. Mullen working against Allan Houston. Draws the foul on Ewing. And Patrick Ewing now has 2 quick fouls. The experience of Chris Mullen in all his years going up against Ewing. And that's one of the areas for Patrick Ewing, Matt, in terms of timing, not playing. He's apt to go for the head fakes a lot quicker. He just hasn't been in the flow.
That's just a smart play by Chris Mullen, who has those head and ball fakes against any size player. But you make the good point, Mike. in that Patrick Ewing just not used to being out there, wanting to assert himself defensively. Going to have a final word with Dick Bavetta. I think he's still upset that he didn't get that foul call against Rik Smits about 5 minutes ago.
So he goes to the bench with 2 as Cummings comes in. You saw Mullen actually miss a free throw. He led the NBA this year at 94%. During the regular season, he took 164 free throws, and he missed 10. Pacers with a 1-point lead. Starks, his first action of the day. Cummings over Smits, and Mullen able to get it. And a carry, travel violation call on Mark Jackson. 3rd turnover for the Pacers. And the crowd, of course, with every error for Jackson, will get on him. You saw Larry Bird there, Matt. You don't know if he's up by 20 or down by 20 by looking at him. The demeanor stays the same.
He lets his anger come out in the post-game press conferences and lets everybody know exactly how he feels. And I'm sure he does that in huddles as well.
Houston, quick shot. Allan Houston finding the range early. He's got 9, the Knicks lead by 1.
And obviously Allan Houston getting the best of Reggie Miller so far. Reggie Miller came out looking for a shot but seemed to rush everything, trying to make up for yesterday's poor 4th quarter, trying to do it all at once. And he's really hurt himself at the defensive end as well, losing contact with Allan Houston, who just keeps moving. Not enough pressure on the ball by Chris Mullen. Makes it easier to get that pass to a shooter. But really what Allan Houston's done so far in the early part of this game, not a lot of movement on the baseline. Kind of just stopping right under the net, get your head under the net, and then make one quick hard burst off the pick. And he's been able to shake Reggie Miller a couple of times.
That last foul on Terry Cummings before the shot 14 foul against the Knicks. Oakley is now on Rik Smits. Oakley knocks it away. All-NBA defense, 2nd team, one of the premier defensive front court players in the league. Starks misfires his shot. Oakley trying to get it to Houston. They play hot potato. Oakley's going to try it again down the lane. And hard foul by Dale Davis. And the crowd appreciating the work ethic of Charles Oakley. First on Davis. Oakley to shoot 2. Charles Oakley, only 2 points. Did not have a field goal in only 18 minutes of action yesterday, as Terry Cummings got a lot of the 4th quarter time. So far in the playoffs, he's 21 of 23 from the free throw line. It's the first. We'll tell you NBA.com. Open up the locker room door and let you communicate with NBA players. Send a question to Chicago's Steve Kerr, Seattle Sam Perkins, Miami's PJ Brown, and Utah's Jacques Vaughn. There are exclusive NBA.com commentators, and they'll answer your questions throughout the playoffs. Only at www.nba.com, your ultimate online resources for the NBA playoffs.
Mike, I'm a little surprised the Indiana Pacers have not made a conscious effort to go inside to Rik Smits a little bit more. They got Ewing on the bench right now with 2 personal fouls. Huge height advantage for Smits against Terry Cummings.
Mullen, the quick shot. Chris Mullen off to a terrific start. He's 3 for 3. 8 total points for Mullen. The Knicks lead cut to 1. Oakley trying to make a move on Antonio Davis. Cummings bringing Smits out. Shot clock down to 7. And illegal defense against Indiana, their first. So just a warning as Bird remains calm.
One of the things I noticed in yesterday's game, Mike, was when Patrick Ewing went out of the game, the ball moved much crisper for the New York Knicks. And when the ball moves, more people get involved. You get better looks at the basket, and everybody picks up their game.
It's still certainly an adjustment after he missed so much time. Ward, the reverse side. Beautiful move from Charlie Ward. And the Knicks go up by 3. Ward struggling yesterday. Chris Childs, one of the key players for the Knicks. But Ward gets his first field goal. We're just under 3.5 to play in the first. Miller draws the foul. Houston picking up his first foul.
Well, the Pacers have had a lot of trouble playing people off the dribble. They've had trouble on high pick and roll situations. When the Knicks keep the ball in the middle of the floor, they've been able to hurt the Indiana Pacer defense. Charlie Ward that time doing a good job, not only on the penetration and drive, but using the rim as a shield to keep Rik Smits from being a shot block threat.
Miller his first points. And so far in the series, there are the numbers. 23, a good number in Game 3 yesterday. But as we mentioned, no field goals, only 2 free throws in the fourth quarter. Those were his first 2 20-point games of the playoffs. Did not reach that mark in the Cleveland series, nor in Game 1. It's a pair of free throws. Knicks lead by 1, just over 3 to play in the first. Starks splits the defenders. Starks the hard drive. John Starks long to the goal. And the Knicks go up by 3.
Anytime you can involve Rik Smits in a pick-and-roll situation, you have a pretty good chance of getting a good shot. Actually, Smits defended well there, but then the perimeter defense of Indiana breaks down, and the Knicks have really had their way off the dribble.
Smits double team. Mullen a little fake. Jackson, and he's called for travel. Charles Oakley with words for Jackson after the turnover. 5 turnovers for the Pacers. Just over 2.5 remaining in the first. Knicks with a 3-point lead.
Hi, I'm Judge Moore.
Brendan Malone, who back on March 16th underwent prostate cancer surgery, missed a month, finally returned, and Jeff Van Gundy said getting Brendan Malone back was like getting a player back from injury. Such an important part to the staff, and he was an important part to Chris Childs' psyche. After the Game 2 loss in Indianapolis, Childs struggled. Malone had a long talk with him on the plane back, told him protect the ball, and Childs came up big in Game 3. Houston coming up big so far in Game 4. He's in double figures as the Knicks lead by 5.
And Mark Pope into the ball game for the Pacers. Derek McKee not available today, out with that quadricep as Reggie Miller breaks down the defense on the left side.
So Pope, with his first appearance of the series, rookie out of Kentucky. 3-point Knick lead, just under 2 minutes remaining. And you see Ewing on the bench with 2 fouls. Charlie Ward, 7 on the shot clock. Ward fall away, tough shot from Charlie Ward. He only had 4 points in 18 minutes of action yesterday. He's already got 4 here in the first quarter today.
Now, Mark Pope gives the Pacers a little bit of size, but I'm really surprised Jalen Rose has not gotten into the ballgame to this point. Made a couple of bad plays in the game yesterday, and he has found I'm sure it's not a permanent seat on the bench, but could be in a little bit of a doghouse.
That ball off Cummings. Pacers will take it.
Charlie Ward knew he was in a little bit of trouble here. Had to invent a shot, kind of a Larry Johnson type of play. Shooting on the slide, moving away from the defender, but the only way that Charlie could get that one off.
Travis Best is checked in. Jackson goes to the Pacer bench amidst boos. Miller, a 3. Reggie Miller from downtown.
We've heard so much about the kick of Karl Malone of late on his penetration to the basket, kicking the bigger players. Reggie Miller, one of the best kickers in the NBA, smaller player, but always kicks that leg out on the jumper.
Starks hard to the goal, but an offensive foul. Antonio Davis steps in and draws the charge. Starks upset with Dick Bavetta. It's his first foul. Pacers will get it back.
And right away, the official, Dick Bavetta, pointing to John Starks exactly where the defender was, outside that dotted circle where you have to be to set up and take the charge. Now Charlie Ward thought he may have forced a turnover here as the little-used Mark Pope a little bit shaky on the inbound pass.
Yeah, that Derek McKee is a huge loss for the Pacers. He's their best defender. Bird calls him one of the best defenders in the entire league, and he's so versatile. Miller. Shot clock down to 7. Miller tries to draw the foul. Houston does a good job avoiding. Cummings tips it to Ward. Starks down the other way. And John Starks gives an extra 4-point lead.
And that's not Reggie Miller's fault. It's his fault that he forced the shot there trying to draw the foul. But either Travis Best or Chris Mullen have to protect on the breakout there. But good look by Charlie Ward for Starks.
And Houston avoiding the foul. Oakley swats it away from Pope.
Here Reggie Miller trying to get Allan Houston to lean in to draw that foul. Houston does a good job of avoiding, but no protection in the backcourt. It's rare to get that kind of an easy basket in playoff situation.
Mullen down the lane. Beautiful move from Chris Mullen. And we have some pushing and shoving after the basket. Starks, he may have been thrown out of the game. Terry Durham, I believe, just threw him out of the game. Durham signaling, pointing his arm up in the air as if you're ejected. Did not make a technical foul sign, but more if he threw him out.
The officials are going to get together here to try to decipher what happened. I saw Chris Mullin immediately go over to Reggie Miller and say, keep quiet, I think you're all right. Starks and Miller coming off the baseline, getting all tangled up. Nothing unusual there. But now Reggie Miller getting his arms up and under John Starks, and then Starks trying to disengage himself, threw his arms and flailed, and no doubt caught Reggie Miller.
They're disputing right now about Durham throwing him out.
Oh yeah, left elbow right into the face of Reggie Miller.
These two have a real history. Obviously, several years ago, Starks with the headbutt on Miller. They've gone at it a number of times. But in such an important game for both teams to get involved in this stuff and have a chance of being thrown out is absolutely ridiculous. Starks has been under control most of the playoffs. He's known for his emotional outbursts in the past, but he's played extremely well in the postseason. And I think they're going to rescind throwing him out. Miller's called for a personal foul. Starks a flagrant foul, but he's not ejected. Dick Bavetta went right over to Terry Durham and I think maybe said to him, hey, I don't know if you want to throw him out on that. But Durham clearly gave the sign he was gone.
Well, John Starks very lucky on that play. You can see the right side of Reggie Miller's face. Very red right now from that shot. If you throw an elbow and connect above the neck, you can be and should be thrown out of the ballgame. Now, I guess the question is, did the officials, the three of them in their judgment, come to the agreement as to whether or not John Starks connected? In the lower left-hand corner, left side, John Starks and Reggie Miller, and there is no doubt, obviously, that there was connection there.
Miller hitting the free throws on the flagrant foul. Starks with a real hard shot on Miller. Miller with that first elbow there, but certainly not as severe as Starks. And as you mentioned, Matt, on any flagrant foul, an official, if he feels it deemed necessary, he can throw you out of the game just on the first flagrant foul regardless.
Exactly, but the connection with an elbow above in the head area, that's automatic as far as the rules are concerned. Jeff Van Gundy will wisely get John Starks out right now, but with all that bumping and grinding and grabbing and holding, a foul should have been called before that.
Let's go over to Jim Gray.
Well, Mike, it was Jim Clark who prevailed on Terry Durham not to throw him out. Gathered Dick Bavetta over there. He said, I had an angle of it. I don't think, while it was flagrant, that it was something that warrants him being thrown out of the game. Would you reconsider? They discussed it. Clark prevailed on him. Mike?
Best with the drive and puts it in. Travis Best, a pretty move. So the teamwork by the officials, but on that play by Starks, they could have easily thrown him out. That was harsh enough. Childs, as the quarter ends, and a wild finish. Pacers end on a 6-0 run. The rivalry continues between these two Eastern Conference teams. One quarter complete at Madison Square Garden. Indiana Pacers with a 2-point lead. The 93 Eastern Conference first. Starks headbutting Reggie Miller. And they've got into it quite a few times over the years, and this is from today. Starks throwing the elbow. Now, we just spoke with Dick Bavetta, and he told us the reason they rescinded Starks being thrown out of the game was because Terry Durham, who threw him out, was then told by another official that it was Starks retaliating from a previous elbow, which we also saw on tape.
Well, it was a reaction to a foul that was called against Reggie Miller.
So the officials catching both fouls. Jalen Rose not expecting the pass. And the Knicks come the other way. Starks ahead to Childs. Childs, Starks, and Mills in the game now. Three players who were huge yesterday, and Johnson traveled with it before he put it on the floor.
And one more
turnover.
And to clear up on the rule, Dick Bavetta stating the rule that what could have been called on John Starks, either an elbow foul, a flagrant 1, or a flagrant 2, which would be an ejection, or an ejection. They chose to call a flagrant 1.
Starks, though, has two personals, as does Miller. Mullen against Starks. Chris Mullen, nice move to the goal. He draws the foul. And Mullen will go back to the free throw line. Charles Oakley picks up his second. Some blood on the right arm of Reggie Miller that they're attending to.
Reggie Miller has been very quiet throughout all the playoffs, including the first round against Cleveland. Not the histrionics that you normally get from a Reggie Miller, or that you used to get. Emotionally under control, not the trash talking, especially that we have seen in this building.
Mullen, meanwhile, misses another free throw. He's 1 of 3.
That is a news flash.
The best in the NBA is just 50% from the line. Well, the Pacers with a 3-point lead opening minute here in the second, along with Matt Guokas and Jim Gray, Mike Breen on hand, Madison Square Garden. Game 4. Starks, Chris Mills. Mills knocks it down to 2. Mills had not been performing well in the postseason, was also suspended for game 5 against the Heat, and had a huge game yesterday as the Knicks bench was terrific. Mullen feeling he can take Starks, trying to draw the foul, and Chris Mullen finds the range again. Mullen now 5 of 6 from the field. He's got 13 points.
Chris Mullen was aggressive with his offense yesterday, scoring 16 as he was matched up against Charles Oakley at one end, and that got him out for some open floor looks.
Starks hits it off the screen. Jalen Rose late getting to him, and it's back to a 1-point Pacer lead. Starks has 6 points.
The Pacer defense playing the shooting guards nowhere near as effective as it was in the first 3 games.
Chris Childs with the foul there.
Chris Mullen knows with that size, and he can get players in the air. He drew a second personal foul on Patrick Ewing earlier with that little head fake. Feeling very confident right now with his offensive ability and trying to pick up the slack.
First foul on Childs, second team foul. Ewing's been on the bench for a long time with foul woes. Mullen forces it, poke deflects it, but right to Childs. Knicks look to break. Rose will check that. Davis with the tip from behind and a steal. Travis Best nearly dribbled it off his foot. Jalen Rose wide open for 3. Pope the rebound, and Pope puts it in. Pope playing again for the injured Derek McKee. Only played 8 minutes in the entire playoffs before today. He's getting some big-time minutes.
Well, Chris Childs, who took so much heat after his fourth quarter performance in game 2 with some bad plays, some turnovers, 5 overall in the game, made amends yesterday and then gets on the floor and turns it over right away with a little bit of nonchalant dribbling up the floor.
3-point Pacer lead, nearly 3 minutes gone by in the second. Rose knocks down a shot, and the Pacers have their largest lead of the first half.
Yeah, you see the respect that Chris Mills has for the ability of Jalen Rose to slash and drive to the basket. He backed way off to give that wide open jump shot.
The lone Knick in double figures with a 5-point lead, nearly 3 minutes gone by in the second. It's been very physical. John Starks already hit with a flagrant foul earlier and nearly tossed from the game. He actually was, but that was rescinded. So Starks remains. Knicks fortunate there. Patrick Ewing has come back in. Ewing played the first 7 minutes and picked up 2 quick fouls. Antonio Davis on Ewing. Fall away for Ewing, drops it in. Patrick Ewing's second field goal. Childs trying to fight over the screen. Best poor decision. Johnson knocks it away, and Mills ahead to Childs. 7 turnovers for the Pacers. Knicks with the same number. Both teams a little careless at times. And Ewing pushed by Davis. First foul on Antonio Davis. First team foul against the Pacers. Davis at times has played Ewing better than Smits. He's very physical and he's got the quickness. Certainly Smits taller, but he's had some success.
Well, the mobility is so important against Patrick Ewing, who likes to catch the ball out at about 17, 18 feet and face up and then put the ball on the floor to try to beat you that way.
Johnson, tough fall-away shot, rattles in. And the Knicks have moved within 1. Larry Johnson now with 4 points.
Oh, the shooting has been spectacular by both teams. 58% for New York, 59% for Indiana. And keep in mind, these are 2 of the best defensive teams in the league.
Holt misses. Ewing the rebound. The shooting percentages for the first 3 games, both teams at 42%, so well above what we've seen thus far. Mullen with an excellent defense, but he stepped out of bounds. Mullen felt he got bumped.
Well, Chris Mills just not improving his position well enough to make that entry pass to Patrick Ewing, enabling the quick hands of Chris Mullen to get a piece.
I don't think he was complaining about being bumped. I thought he felt he released the ball before that foot came down. That was very close. Ewing right back to Allan Houston. Allan Houston in and out. And a whistle. It's going to go against the Knicks. Larry Johnson called for a loose ball foul. That'll be his first, 3rd team foul against the Knicks.
Well, we saw throughout the Miami series, their objective defensively against Allan Houston was to take away the baseline move and force him to the middle into the congestion. The Pacers now are getting beat by Houston to that baseline where he looks very confident with his shot.
Antonio Davis backing in against Johnson, forces his way and won't go. Ewing had it, lost it. They say last touch by Pope. Boy, big difference between today and yesterday. In a game that was dominated by huge runs, Pacers opened up the game with a 19-6 run. Knicks had a big 13-0 run in the second. Did the same in the fourth, but have been very close most of the way. Johnson against Pope. Johnson, the head fake, draws the foul, and one. Larry Johnson with a chance for a 3-point play as the Knicks have scored 6 in a row to regain the lead. Timeout Pacers, fouls on Pope. Just under 7 minutes remaining in the first half. With a chance to complete the 3-point play. Knicks leading by 1. Just over 5 minutes gone by in the second. And the Knicks perfect from the free throw line. They were one of the better free throw shooting teams in the league during the regular season, 3rd in the NBA. Terrific from the free throw line in yesterday's game. Whereas the Pacers really struggled at the line yesterday, and that hurt them.
And part of that struggle was Dale Davis hitting just 2 of 10, and Dale Davis being used sparingly here, only played the first 8 minutes of the game. That's why the rookie or first-year player Mark Pope was in the ball game.
Offensive foul called, Rik Smits. And that's his second. When you talk about the free throws, it was the 2 Davises that struggled from the line. The rest of the team was fine. But Smits now with 2 fouls, same as Ewing. Smits has only taken 1 shot so far. Nice feed to Houston, can't get it to go. Johnson on the foul, and the Knicks on a 9-0 run. They lead by 4.
And something you rarely see, after Larry Johnson made that little feed on the baseline, he followed through with a fake, almost like a quarterback, into the lane. And he had the defense all confused, enabling him to get in for that second shot opportunity.
Johnson scored the last 7 points by the Knicks. Reggie Miller, baseline move, and he draws the foul. Miller taking it to the goal as Larry Johnson picks up his second.
You see that move by Larry Johnson. I don't really know who it faked out, but you just don't see that with basketball players.
You expect Charlie Ward to do that, the former quarterback, not Johnson. So Miller to the line for 2. Almost midway through the second. Knicks with a 4-point lead. Miller now with 10 points. Coming up next on NBC, Game 2 of our NBA playoff tripleheader. The Supersonics go to the Forum to face the Lakers. And Game 4 of the Western Conference semifinal. Then the Bulls and the Hornets from the Hive. Bulls leading 2-1 in that series.
Now both Rik Smits and Patrick Ewing with 2 personal fouls each. You got to think both teams are going to try to go inside and get the other one that 3rd foul.
Another nice feed from Allan Houston, and Larry Johnson now 9 straight points for the Knicks. 11 for the game for Johnson.
I guess no need to go inside to the big man with Larry Johnson just wreaking havoc against the other Indiana defenders.
Jalen Rose catch and shoot. Antonio Davis got it. Ewing mistimed his jump. Miller a long 3. Ewing gets the rebound. Lost it to Davis. Scramble out of bounds. Last touch by Mills, and it's Pacer ball along the baseline.
And the crowd reaction, feeling that Rik Smits just diving onto the back of Chris Mills, which he did, but it was an attempt to go after the ball. And it really looked like Rik Smits shoveled it out of there.
As long as no one has possession, that's a free-for-all. Pile on. Close to a 5-second count. Davis able to get it. Rose looking to post up Chris Mills. Offensive foul. Rose pushing off. Strong defense from Chris Mills, and the Knicks will get it back, leading by 4.
Strong defense by the Knicks in every way, playing the situations well, clogging the lane, doing a good job on the defensive boards, although they do that all the time, and they're not getting much resistance from the Pacers, a very poor offensive rebounding team.
Chris Childs yelling, and he's been hit with a technical foul. Childs had the ball stolen, then fouled Best, and then furthers the damage with a silly technical foul, and the Pacers will get a freebie.
Well, Travis Best is a very tough individual defender on the ball. The clear grab by Chris Childs, of course, he's complaining that he got fouled first. But in Chris Childs' precarious position of seemingly having one good game, a couple off games, then another good game. He's coming off a good one yesterday. Really has to keep these kinds of emotions under control.
Trying to talk for Jim Clark, who hit him with the technical. Childs talked about one of the keys for him yesterday was he didn't talk to anyone. He just played hard. He didn't keep his promise today. And the Knicks give away a point as Travis Best now will shoot on the personal foul. Knicks are over the limit. Travis Best, the backup point guard. He's had a lot of success. One of the reasons he's a real nice change of pace than Mark Jackson. They're such different players. Knick lead is 1. Just over 5 minutes remaining, second quarter. Ewing, the jumper. Smits got a piece of it. Fight for the rebound. Here comes Jalen Rose. Dangerous pass to Antonio Davis.
Jalen Rose really hasn't been right for the last 3 games. For whatever reason, he seems to have lost his confidence.
Miller misses the 3. Johnson boxing out, lost the rebound, but it's last touched by Rose. One surprising number from the Pacers thus far. They have 10 turnovers. This is a team that rarely beats themselves. They're only averaging 13.5 turnovers through the first 3 games of the series, already with 10. And
mysteriously keep refraining from going inside to Rik Smits or going to him in any way.
Smits has only taken 1 shot, and now he's picked up his 3rd foul.
You know, Mike, and this is all the more reason why you'd like to go to Rik Smits early in the game if you're the Pacers, because he is apt to pick up quick personal fouls and spends a lot of time on the bench, that you try to get as much offense from him as you can early in the ballgame. But only the 1 shot, and that was the cutting layup that Mark Jackson created for him, as Chris Mills getting up and under, and actually Rik Smits trying to extricate himself a little bit too aggressively.
Allan Houston draws the foul. Will they call it goaltending? No, they say it's on the way up. Larry Johnson trying to coerce Terry Durham. Dale Davis picks up his 2nd, and Allan Houston will shoot 2. Let's take a peek.
Actually, the foul early there, that was clearly on the way down. Should have been a goaltend on Antonio Davis.
The crowd reacting on the big Garden Vision that they can all see as the replay is shown. Allan Houston now with 12 points. Knicks remain perfect from the free throw line, 8 for 8. Their lead is 2 with 4.5 remaining in the second. High scoring considering these 2 teams, what we've seen in the past. One of the reasons the Knicks shooting 57% from the field. Pacers, meanwhile, are down to 48. They've had a little tough stretch.
Allan Houston, Larry Johnson getting most of the touches, most of the play, as Patrick Ewing has kept himself, for the most part, on the periphery.
Offensive foul on Best. He pushed off with the right arm. Larry Johnson helping out on defense. And the 11th Pacer turnover. Childs and Best talking. Now, Childs could get called for a taunting technical if he keeps that up. He's already got 1. You get 2 techs, you're automatically ejected. You just can't believe that he stays involved in that.
And the antenna have to be up on the part of the officials after the stall. Beautiful beat by Childs inside to Allan Houston. After the earlier altercation between Reggie Miller and John Starks, the officials have to keep a very close eye on everything out there.
They'll be quick to call those. But Larry Bird quick to call a timeout right now. The Knicks on a 15-5 run. Gorgeous assist For Chris Childs, Allan Houston, the game's leading scorer with 15. The Knicks a 5-point advantage.
Still 2-1. Despite the success with the franchise, West sounds like a man ready for a change.
I feel so blessed to have accomplished as much with one franchise. I never was traded. I've never been fired. But there's certain times in your life when maybe a change is best.
A very interesting interview with Jerry West coming up at halftime. Let's go back to the Garden and rejoin Mike Breen.
Thank you, Hannah. Patrick Ewing, his numbers so far, Matt.
Well, actually, Allan Houston with 15, Larry Johnson with 11, but it's been Patrick Ewing coming in at the 9-minute mark. The Knicks have outscored the Pacers 15-5, mainly because he is not forcing anything, just content to be a presence out there.
They lob it to Antonio Davis. Antonio Davis misfires. Pacers have missed their last 6 shots. Knicks mark, meanwhile, at 58%. This is not a team that shoots the ball well. Only 43% in the playoffs, 45 in the regular season, yet they're closing in on 60. And as you said, Matt, against one of the better defending teams. Mullen with the steal. Mills takes it right back. Johnson has it stripped by Chris Mullen. Ewing leans in. And the Knicks have their largest lead of the first half.
And clearly the Indiana Pacers not playing their best defense, all out of whack at the offensive end, don't really seem to have a clear idea of what they want to do. But get a good look here.
Miller all the time in the world. He's as good as it gets in taking his man off the screen. And Reggie Miller now with 14 points. 5-point Knick lead, under 3 minutes remaining. Houston has a moment for a 3. Jackson back in the game, trying to force the action. Davis running the lane, and he's fouled by Johnson. Larry Johnson now with his 3rd foul. So Johnson and Smits both with 3 fouls.
And the marching order for the Knicks defense, anytime a Davis has a layup, hack him. Make him earn it from the free throw line. 2 for 10 for Dale Davis yesterday, 1 for 4 for Antonio. And it was a big factor in the game yesterday.
For the series, Antonio Davis just 53%. Tonight, I want to remind you, an NBC world premiere movie event based on the true story of the man who brought down mob boss John Gotti. Witness to the Mob begins at 9, 8 Central tonight on NBC. Sammy the Bull, Ravano, as Larry Johnson walks to the bench. Charles Oakley back in. Davis hits a pair. Davis is actually, that Antonio Davis, he's a pretty good free throw shooter. It's Dale Davis that is very poor. But the Knicks, despite their terrific shooting, only hold a 3-point lead with 2.5 remaining in the second. Houston alters the shot. The tip by Ewing won't go. Fight for it. Oakley comes away with it, kicks it out to Childs. Allan Houston, wide open 3. It's good. Allan Houston from downtown, and the Knicks back up by 6.
And credit the offensive board work by Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley to create that second shot opportunity. That's when you'll get some wide open 3s.
18 points for Allan Houston. Miller, and a foul on Childs. Chris Childs picks up his 3rd. Knicks are over the limit, so Miller will get to the line.
Both Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley keeping the ball alive. Oakley digging it out. And in typical fashion, finding the floor. But usually when there's an offensive rebound, all of the defense is sucked into the lane, expecting to get the rebound, and you can't find those 3-point shooters. And a good look for Allan Houston.
Even Miller missing free throws. We've seen Chris Mullen miss 2. Now Miller misses 1. 3 fouls for Childs, so Charlie Ward back in.
When those players miss, you tend to want to go out and measure the rim to see if it's actually 10 feet high.
2 of the very best in the game from the free throw line. Miller hits the 2nd. Reggie Miller's got 15. Good showdown between Miller and Houston today. Ward finding Ewing. Ewing spins underneath, lost the handle, and Antonio Davis the rebound. Under 2 minutes remaining. A 5-point Knick lead. Jackson again posting up Charlie Ward. Ward cannot deal with Jackson's strength advantage here. Jackson powers in. Blocked by Oakley. Picked up by Davis, and he slams it in. Antonio Davis in the right place at the right time. A rare block from Charles Oakley, but Davis right there.
That's about as high as I've seen Charles Oakley jump in many, many years, getting it up in there, but then he fell down and took Charlie Ward with him. enabling Davis to clean up inside.
3-point Knick lead. There you see the numbers shooting-wise. Despite that, Pacers right there. Ewing gets the feed, and he draws the foul. Patrick Ewing will shoot two.
There's Jackson working inside against Charlie Ward, just getting overpowered strength-wise. The block by Oakley, but unable to control, leaving Antonio Davis all alone. And really what created this good shot opportunity for Patrick Ewing was the hard dribble by Charlie Ward coming off that high pick as the Pacers continue to struggle with that phase of their defense.
Ewing way short on the free throw. That foul is on Antonio Davis' second. There's Ewing's numbers.
Well, Larry Bird will have some positive things to talk about at halftime, saying to his team, we're not very sharp offensively, not our best defense, and we're still very close in this ballgame. And I'm sure it's something that Jeff Van Gundy will be warning his team about. Say, hey, we shot the heck out of the basketball, and we're only up by whatever it's going to be.
They've been outshot, out-rebounded, and have committed more turnovers. Miller with the runner. And Houston called for another foul. Reggie Miller right back to the line as Houston picks up his second. So good at drawing the personals.
Reggie Miller working off that baseline, trying to set the back screen. An acting job there, and coming hard off the pick. Something that he and Allan Houston both do extremely well.
Miller now with 16. Starks come back in. Houston will sit down with the 2 fouls. 18 points for Allan Houston. His series high is only 16, and he already has beaten that here in the first half. Miller hits a pair. The Pacers have taken 21 free throws here in the first half, and they pull within 2, under a minute remaining. Oakley lobs it in. Ewing mistimed the jump, and a little bump from behind apparently from Antonio Davis, who is perplexed by the call. That's his third. So both Antonio Davis and Rik Smits with 3 apiece.
Yeah, these are the things that continue to go on with Patrick Ewing back for just his 3rd game after missing 5 months. An excellent position in the lane. And actually, it really wasn't Patrick's lack of timing. It was Charles Oakley. Not really used to seeing Patrick in there put up the lazy pass.
There you see Ewing's numbers prior to December 20th when he had the injury, averaging the double-double, and up there in the top 10 in blocks as well. And the way Allan Houston and Larry Johnson have stepped up their games, Antonio Davis will sit down with the 3 fouls. Ewing's numbers probably won't be as high, and Allan Houston's and Larry Johnson's will drop down as they try and find the right way to share the ball.
I don't think any of the players really care all that much about that. Of course, Patrick has always wanted to score, as these other players do. That's their job. They care about trying to win.
Miller, wide open 3, knocks it down. Reggie Miller pouring it on. He's got 20 points here in the first half.
Well, Larry Bird came with a lot of small players to finish out the last 45 seconds, and Jeff Van Gundy thought he had gotten everybody on the same page to match up. He came with smaller players.
Somebody turned the page.
But how do you lose Reggie Miller?
And Miller, once again, with 20 to tie the game at 53 with 35 seconds remaining.
If you're going to make a mistake, send 2 players at Reggie Miller, the most dangerous offensive player on the floor for the Indiana Pacers. Even though Reggie has struggled from the field, you see some of the big games that he has had over the course of his career in the playoff situations against New York, and some of the performances in this building were breathtaking.
And his numbers have gone down, but again, it's more because of his role is a little different. They're much more of a balanced team. We'll take time out. 34.7 remaining before the half. It's all even here in Game 4. Called a 20-second timeout. That was James full. As Jeff Van Gundy not happy with his team's recent play last couple of minutes. They led by 7, but a 12-5 run by the Pacers, and the game is tied. Ward, beautiful feed to Cummings. Cummings unable to get it in, but gets the rebound. And the Knicks will probably hold it now. There's about a 2.5-second differential between the game and shot clock. Cummings coming up high to set a screen. The feed again. Cummings underneath. This time puts it in. And the Knicks back up by 2. Jackson, final seconds. Plenty of time to get the ball up for a good shot. Jackson shaking, leaning in, draws the foul. And he'll shoot 2 as he got Chris Mills up in the air. Excellent work from Mark Jackson. And Mills picks up his first.
And this has been one of the most effective plays in the first half for the Indiana Pacers, using their pump fakes, getting the Knicks up into the air and drawing fouls. So far, Indiana 17 for 21 in the first half to just 11 for 13 for New York. Reggie Miller doing most of the damage, going 10 for 11 from the line.
Jackson, who has the best assist-to-turnover ratio of all the point guards left in the playoffs, has 2 turnovers here in the first half. And as Jim Gray told us earlier, Larry Bird got on him and was upset for his antics, the shimmy and the waving at the crowd in Game 3 yesterday. Bird very upset with it and let his players know he didn't want it. Second one won't go. Ball tipped by Mark West. And that will end the first half. Knicks shooting 54%. The Pacers 50%. And the 2 guards lining it up. Miller a 20-point half. Allan Houston right behind with 18. Pacers lead the series 2-1. Game 4 at halftime. Knicks a 1-point lead. Stay tuned for the Prudential halftime report coming up after these messages. You're watching the NBA on NBC.
Van Gundy told me, got to do much better. And Miller, they're going for head fakes, our guys, creating bad fouls. We've got to tighten up. 50% is just much too good shooting for them. We must be better on defense. As for Larry Bird, wants him to hit the offensive board. Only 4 offensive boards in the first half. Wants his team to be much more aggressive. Mike?
Thank you, Jim. Smits can't connect. Rik Smits only his second shot, but Mark Jackson able to get the offensive rebound, and he misses as Oakley grabs the board.
And in that first half, I don't think it was necessarily the defense of Patrick Ewing. In fact, I'm sure it wasn't. It was really the Indiana Pacers not calling the number of Rik Smits. Why he only took that 1 shot there.
Mullen takes it away from Ewing, who gets it right back. Oakley with a rare shot, puts it in. Charles Oakley with his first field goal this weekend. Didn't hit one yesterday, gets one today. He's done a superb job on the boards with 7 rebounds in the first half, but finally gets into scoring. Mullen operating. Chris Mullen again. Mullen and Oakley laughing at each other as they go down the floor.
Well, I'm sure Charles Oakley would like to get matched up with somebody other than Chris Mullen, but winding up with Chris Mullen's a tough cover for Oakley.
Ewing, strong move to the goal. Patrick Ewing now with 12 points. Knicks back up by 3. Mullen, of course, from New York, so friendly with a lot of the Knicks, with Oakley and Ewing, their days in the Big East. One of the most likable guys in the NBA.
But so often with that cross match in transition, you have to pick up the first man you see. Oh, beautiful follow by Dale Davis. Guy almost guiding that ball into the rim, legally.
I think Mark Jackson will say that's a pass. 1-point Knick lead. We played nearly 2 minutes here on the third. Oakley finding Larry Johnson. Davis guarding him. Johnson double team. The head fake gets him away. Follow Ewing on the follow. Patrick Ewing, the Knicks' best rebounder, will really help them on the boards. And again, he continues to get more of a feel the more he plays.
And that's how I felt Patrick Ewing could help his team most at the offensive end. Do those little things. Keep the ball alive. Get second shots.
Goes for the fake. Beautiful feed from Smits. And the 7'4" center able to set up Jackson. 1-point game again. Allan Houston over Reggie Miller. Ewing tries to tip it away, but Smits holds on, lost it momentarily. Jackson down low, Dale Davis. Miller, Houston trying to stay with him. Reggie Miller on the runner, and Reggie Miller now with 22.
Reggie Miller doing a good job of using his body to ward off Allan Houston. Anytime Reggie puts the ball on the floor, he's always looking for somebody to bump into to primarily get to the free throw line.
Pacers back up by 1. Ewing and Smits, they isolate. Mullen sneaking over to try and help. Ewing forcing it up. Shot won't go. Smits the rebound.
All that time off, Patrick Ewing still didn't forget how to carry that ball. He really gets his hand under and turns it over.
Ewing now from the field, 5 of 10. Jackson trying to post up. Knicks whistle for an illegal defense there first. So just a warning, and the Pacers will inbound.
Larry Johnson got away offensively from the Pacers in that first half with Dale Davis off him. This time Davis forces the tough shot, but there's Patrick Ewing. Nobody getting body on him. You see that little lean in by Reggie Miller trying to draw contact, and Houston wisely backing off in that particular instance. He knew he was clearly beat.
Jackson again looking to post up Charlie Ward. Just powers his way in. Mark Jackson, no problems whatsoever in the low post with Ward.
You know, they went to this so many times, late third quarter, early fourth quarter yesterday, and I thought it really took the Pacers out of their offense. Of course, if he can score that easily, it's going to force the Knicks, I'm talking about Mark Jackson now, it's going to force the Knicks to have to come double team him.
Ewing slips. Allan Houston well short. Smits quick outlet. Pacers with the numbers of 3-on-2. Mullen spots up for 3. That's good. Chris Mullen from downtown. And a 9-0 run by the Pacers. They have their largest lead of the game. And the Knicks will call timeout. Just over 4 minutes gone by in the third. Indiana, a 6-point advantage. Very well. In recognition of the game, Miller Brewing Company will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. Pacers coming out in the third quarter much like they did yesterday. They opened up the second half with a 19-6 run. It's a 13-6 run to start. They lead by 6. Miller playing some physical defense, and a travel call on Allan Houston. Carry the ball, and the Knicks with their 11th turnover.
Now, so many good things have happened for the Knicks when they do get the ball at the top of the key area. They've been able to break down the Indiana Pacer defenders. That time, Reggie Miller with the little jostle, forcing Houston to mishandle.
Johnson up on Mullen. Oakley's now guarding Dale Davis. Smits the runner across the lane, drops it in. 11 straight points by the Pacers. They lead by 8.
And that's the way I expected the Pacers to come out and start the game, with Rik Smits trying to make those moves on Patrick Ewing.
Charlie Ward, nice move, can't complete it, but gets the rebound and misses the layup. Dale Davis the rebound. Point blank range, and Ward could not put it down. Mullen for 3. Oakley quick outlet Houston. Knicks trying to run. Good transition defense from the Pacers. Ward for 3. That's good. Charlie Ward from downtown. And the Pacers lead is cut to 5.
Now, Charlie Ward has been a high percentage three-point shooter throughout the season. Does not get them in high volume, but has been able to knock down the wide open one. As the Indiana Pacer defense, you saw how quickly they went and converged on Houston.
Jackson answers right back. Mark Jackson now with 11 points and 8 assists. 8-point Indiana lead. Ward the penetration. Larry Johnson from 3-point range. And a foul call on Charles Oakley. Mullen, excellent boxing out. 3 fouls now on Oakley.
Well, Allan Houston getting bottled up right away as the Pacers worried about him in transition to either shoot the 3 or drive it, and totally disregarding Charlie Ward. And John Starr said, they can't leave my guy alone. He can make that shot.
But Jackson then answered right back with his own 3. Pacers again, this is their largest lead, 8-point advantage. Jackson now backing in. Ewing tries to help. Smits, Rik Smits in and out, starts the rebound. Knicks trying to make it 2 in a row against the Pacers. Remember, Indiana has not lost 2 consecutive games since December 8th and 10th. That's an incredible streak. Ewing underneath from her side, got it knocked away. Just over 5.5 remaining in the third. Miller fighting through several screens, turns, quick shot, it's good. Reggie Miller. That's a 2-pointer. And a 16-3 run by the Pacers, who now lead by 10.
Reggie Miller is just doing an outstanding job of getting away from the defender, using that screen, putting on an extra burst of speed to get himself wide open.
24 from Miller. Oakley, he's left wide open. Charles Oakley knocks it down. Only his second field goal. Oakley has not looked for his offense all that often.
Some people from the Pacers telling me before the game about Reggie Miller. I asked why the tough fourth quarter. There's a big hard kick at half court by Dale Davis, wiping out Charlie Ward.
Davis picks up his third. That's enough to get Larry Bird off the bench. He does not agree with the call.
Charlie Ward trying to put that backcourt pressure on. Really, Mark Jackson doesn't need a pick. But Dale Davis taking a whack at Charlie Ward anyway.
Just kind of a slight twitch there at the end, and that's enough to do it. A twitch from Dale Davis hurts, though.
I was asking about Reggie Miller, why he was so uninvolved in the fourth quarter yesterday. Said, hey, Reggie goes hard all game long. He wears down. He doesn't always come up big in fourth quarters. He's worked hard so far in 2.5.
Allan Houston draws the foul on Miller, and Houston will go to the free throw line. I mean, Miller he's got a frail frame, but he's deceptively strong. But he's always running as he picks up his third foul. Houston back to the line. Allan Houston with 18 points. 4:44 remaining in the third. Houston hits the first. Of course, remind you, if you need reminding, this Thursday is the night America waiting for the Seinfeld finale, starting at 8, 7 Central, followed by the season finale of ER. Later, Jerry Seinfeld joins Jay Leno on The Tonight Show. A great Thursday night. All begins with the Seinfeld finale at 8, 7 Central Thursday on NBC. Houston 1 of 2 from the line. Pacers lead by 7. 4.5 remaining third quarter. Childs back in the game. He's now guarding Miller. Starks is on Mullen. Houston on Jackson. 7 on the shot clock. Childs has 3 fouls. Miller gets him away momentarily but can't hit. Starks the rebound. Starks looking for an opening. Oakley barely got the pass in. Starks squares, wide open three. It's good. John Starks from downtown, and that gets the crowd on its feet. Such an emotional part of the Knicks, who have now pulled within 4.
And Jeff Van Gundy has made a move, getting Houston off Miller, putting him on Mark Jackson, and getting Chris Childs, who has had some good moments against all the guards for the Indiana, to watch the dangerous Miller.
Beautiful move from Rik Smits. And the Pacers back up by 6. Smits with only 7 points. But remember, he only took 1 shot in the first half. He's already taken 4 here in the third quarter. It's been a quick quarter, just 3.5 remaining. Starks splits the defenders, kicks it out. Chris Childs, an open jumper. Childs knocks it down.
And the Knicks continue to bedevil the Pacers with their ability to take them off the dribble, use the high pick and roll, break down the defense, get in the lane, and find open shooters.
Miller finding Smits, but his bad pass deflected off the rim. Smits gets it back, feeds Dale Davis, and Davis hard foul by a host of Knicks. You can pick pretty much anyone. They saw Davis with the ball, let's foul him.
Actually, I felt John Starks hesitated a little bit here. He has had the trigger ready throughout the playoffs after suffering through a miserable April. He has been very aggressive. And then Rik Smits on the turnaround against Ewing. I asked Rik Smits before the game how he felt the back-to-back situation would affect him having those sore feet. He said, it's just my right foot. It's been killing me. It bothered me yesterday in the fourth quarter. So he says, I have no idea how it's going to react when the bell rings. But he was certainly not involved at all in that first half offensively.
Smits had surgery on both his feet back in September of '96, and they're still not 100%. Davis, who's 2 for 10 yesterday from the line, hits his first attempt, misses the second. That foul, by the way, on Ewing. And that's his third. But Smits says his orthotics are so thick in his shoes that he's frequently off balance. A lot of that has to do with the scar tissue from the surgery. Starks trying to get it off the screen. 6 on the shot clock, a 3. It's good. John Starks on off-balance 3. And the Knicks are within 2. And the crowd again up on its feet. Chance of defense.
And Chris Childs continues to work to keep the ball out of the hands of Reggie Miller.
Dale Davis, a rare perimeter shot. Starks corners the rebound. Knicks look to break. Davis nearly stole it. Houston being guarded by Mark Jackson. Davis helping out. Houston trying to find an opening. Jackson nearly knocked it away. And it's last touch by Houston. Pacers will get it back. Superb defense from Mark Jackson. Timeout. Wild flurry here in the third. Just over 2 minutes remaining. Pacers by 2. Jeff Van Gundy going with the Jalen Rose back in the game. 7 on the shot clock. Rose looking to post, leans in. Tough shot from Jalen Rose as Oakley gets sent flying to the floor.
Well, after a brilliant game one by Jalen Rose, scoring 18 points on only 8 shots, has been very quiet for the last 2.5 games. He is the one Indiana Pacer that can break defenses down.
The ball movement there for the Knicks. Childs a little ball fake. Starks 7 on the shot clock. Oakley tries to draw the foul, but a 3-second violation. One too many passes for the Knicks. Knicks have whistled for about 4 3-second violations yesterday. 14th turnover for the Knicks. Pacers have 13.
Well, Jeff Van Gundy gets Allan Houston off Reggie Miller, puts Childs on him, and now Larry Bird comes with Jalen Rose to force Houston to guard him.
Pacers only 1 turnover in the third, much more efficient with the ball. An unlikely number for them in the first half when they have the 12. 6 on the shot clock. Antonio Davis bumped by Oakley. Fight for the ball. Davis has it, loses it, and there's 1 left on the 24, and it's going to be Knick ball anyway. Charles Oakley's physical defense forcing that turnover. Both centers out right now. Ewing and Smith each with 3 fouls. Jackson on Houston. Houston will try and take advantage there. On the pull-up baseline, Allan Houston can't get it. Dale Davis the rebound. Pacers lead by 4. Just over a half-minute remaining in the third. Miller a 3. Childs on the penetration. The pass deflected by Jackson. And Jackson and Rose get caught up.
Well, you could see on that last possession for Indiana how quickly Reggie Miller released that ball. Hasn't had a shot in a while since the defensive switch. Getting a little bit hungry to get it up.
Miller had 20 at halftime. Has 4 here in the third quarter. You see the difference between the shot and game clock as the third quarter winds down. Oakley, an open jumper, high arcing shot. A rainbow from Oakley. And the Pacer lead cut to 2 with 11 seconds remaining. Oakley, 8 points, 9 boards. Starks trying to hold off Mark Jackson. And there's the foul. And a technical foul has been called. John Starks, a personal and a technical. Now, he got called for a flagrant earlier, but that doesn't count. A technical, if you get 2, you're automatically ejected. That's only his first technical.
Now, you'll remember, Mike, back when that incident happened between Reggie Miller and John Starks, and Starks hit him high with the elbow in the face. It was Terry Durham, the official, that immediately didn't hesitate for a second, gave the heave-ho signal to throw John Starks out of the ballgame. Once the officials got together, they changed that and just called a flagrant 1 on Starks, which enabled him to stay in the game. It looked like Terry Durham had his eyes wide open, almost waiting for Starks to do something.
In a game that could be decided by a point, Miller for 3, off the mark. But you shake your head at the players thinking a technical foul could mean the difference between a win and a loss. Starks with a costly technical. 3 quarters complete here at Madison Square Garden. Indiana Pacers a 3-point lead. Whistle. Listen to the whistle as his move.
And it was really the hard hack by John Starks after the whistle that earned him the technical foul, and not another flagrant 1. Had they called another flagrant 1, he'd be out of here.
So just a personal and the technical. We begin the fourth quarter. Pacers leading by 3. Allan Houston with the jumper. Larry Johnson, the offensive rebound. The Knicks will get a new 24. Oakley. Johnson against Dale Davis. Ness trying to help out. Johnson flips it up and puts it in. Larry Johnson pulls the Knicks within one.
Well, these are the kind of shots that Larry Johnson has had to resort to over the last few years. Lost his explosiveness and has now developed those little floaters, which lets him escape from the defense and still get the shot off. Very tough shots for just about anybody but Larry Johnson.
Rose tries the right hand. Oakley the rebound. Knicks look to run again. Childs pass ahead to Johnson. Johnson underneath draws the foul. Shot won't go as Antonio Davis picks up his fourth. There have not been a lot of fast breaks in this game. Knicks taking advantage there.
Well, Larry Johnson has had his problems against Dale Davis. This time works him into the lane, and there's that little floater as he moves his body away from the challenge. And then Larry turning on a burst of speed to get behind the Pacer defense, but unable to get up there and explode hard to the basket and letting the defender get back in there and hack him.
Knicks now 13 of 16 from the free throw line, 81%. It's always the last thing that you talk about, but certainly in the postseason it wins games for you. Johnson, 1 of 2. Game tied at 80. We've played a minute here in the fourth. A lot of banging as they're trying to fight through screens. Charles Oakley with a shove on Reggie Miller. 4 fouls on Oakley. First team foul.
Reggie Miller kind of smiling a little bit, going to set that cross screen, and then the overemphasis falling back. There's no question he got popped by Oakley. You know, Reggie Miller normally makes that kind of play when the other team is in the penalty so he can get free throws. So far, Chris Childs doing an outstanding job on Reggie Miller, pitching a shutout since he has come in guarding him. Ward changes in the third quarter.
And Matt Ward and Childs in the game at the same time right now, with Travis Best in there instead of Mark Jackson. Antonio Davis, Ewing back in. Davis across the lane, misses the layup. Starks tips it to Ewing. Charlie Ward, a three. It's good. Charlie Ward from downtown. And the Knicks back up by 3. A 6-0 run to start the fourth quarter. The Knicks now 6 of 8 from three-point range. Timeout Pacers. Early minute of the fourth. Knicks a 3-point advantage. At Madison Square Garden when Charlie Ward hit this three.
Had Charlie Ward a 37%er from beyond the arc all season long. Not afraid to launch it. Actually, the longer distance has been more beneficial to Charlie Ward. Jeff Van Gundy not afraid at all to go with this small lineup with the guards.
Rik Smits from long range. Smits answers right back as he gets tangled up with Starks and falls down.
And the reason why he wants ball handlers out there, the Knicks have been so successful at getting the ball top of the floor like this and being able to beat the Pacers off the dribble and create.
Patrick Ewing makes his move and draws a foul. And Smits is called for the personal. That's 4 on Smits. Second team foul against the Pacers.
All Rik Smits is going to do anytime he can is hang on the perimeter. Before that little collision with John Starks, hoping that Patrick Ewing drifts in defensively and goes down to help out, and Rik Smits will be open for that shot, which he shoots so well.
For a guy named the Dunking Dutchman, he's got a great touch. One of the best shooters from the perimeter of all NBA centers. Ewing lost the handle. You see Ewing throughout the series in his 2+ games has not been able to handle the ball well. The timing certainly off there. Jeff Van Gundy does not want him to do it. Jackson kicks it out. Smits an open jumper and misses as Ward helps out of the boards. Knicks lead by 1. 2.5 gone by the fourth. Charlie Ward, or Childs I should say, pulling up on the baseline. Chris Childs, his second field goal. And the Knicks back up by 3.
Larry Johnson continues to do a good job in the low post. Dale Davis not having the same kind of success. Even though Larry Johnson didn't score there, made the nice pass.
Miller for 3. Reggie Miller from way downtown. Been a game tied at 85. Reggie Miller now with 28 points.
And that's the first time that Reggie has gotten away from Chris Childs.
Ward the penetration. Tries to draw the foul. Knicks swing it. Childs again. Patrick Ewing with an open look. Ewing can't get it. Johnson another offensive rebound. The Knicks will set it up again. 11 offensive rebounds for the Knicks. Childs for three. It's good. Chris Childs, back-to-back jumpers. And the lead back to three. A seesaw battle here in the fourth.
Talking with Dick Hart, the assistant coach of the Pacers before the game. So upset with his players' inability to contain the dribbler.
Smits, Ewing runs out on him. Childs up on Miller again. 6 on the shot clock. Miller to Smits. Shot clock at 3. Back to Miller. They kick it to Mullen. Mullen does not get it off in time. A 24-second violation. The shot will not count. And the Garden is exploding right now. Collar a little tight for Larry Bird.
What a show of emotion. No question about the call as Chris Mullen just hesitated ever so slightly on the catch.
Chance of let's go Knicks. Starks on the drive. Childs running into Davis, and a hard foul on Dale Davis. His fourth, but Chris Childs, who has come alive in the last couple of minutes, will shoot 2.
Here again, the penetration into the lane as Chris Childs, the man winding open. This is draw and kick basketball. Spread the floor as much as you can. Beat your man off the dribble, draw the next defender, and make the next pass. When the Knicks are clicking this way, they are a very good offensive team.
Childs, who's had a rough playoff, said that the throat-slitting gesture that he made in Miami took a lot of criticism for that, and then played poorly early. And as a reminder, coming up next on NBC, it's Game 2 of our NBA playoff tripleheader. The Sonics trying to get back at the Lakers at the Forum. Lakers leading that 2-1, and then the Bulls with a 2-1 lead against the Hornets, playing at the Hive in Charlotte. But Childs really struggled the first 2 games, was one of the real key players yesterday, responded to the criticism, and now he has the last 6 points for the Knicks.
Both teams have calmed down with their turnovers here in the second half. Both teams continue to shoot the ball very well. But it's the Knicks that are actually getting higher percentage shots because their ability to get inside.
A high-scoring game between these two teams. 5-point Knick lead. Still plenty of time, over 7.5. Here's the mismatch for the Pacers. Mullen on Ward. Mullen double team. Jackson on the drive. Smits, the little head fake, gets the defense away, and an open look for Rik Smits.
So a turnabout that time as Jackson penetrated the defense to draw people, and he knows he's got his big baby out there, Rik Smits, who is comfortable facing the basket.
Smits now with 11 points in the game after hardly shooting in the first half. Johnson against Antonio Davis. Charlie Ward, another 3. Puts it in. Charlie Ward. And the Knicks up by 6. The Knicks now 8 of 10 from 3-point range.
Mike, it can be such a simple game. The coaches like to call it inside out. You're always going to get better looks, better rhythm shots when you penetrate and then shoot a jump shot.
Antonio Davis with a terrific tip. Knicks called for the foul. It's going to be on John Starks. Davis with the hustle to keep it alive. But the Knicks bombing from downtown. They lead by 6 with 6:41 remaining. Dominating the ball. The Knicks had 6 players yesterday. They have 5 in double figures today.
And it's because Patrick Ewing has not been demanding the ball, or when he does get it, he's not dominating the ball.
Knicks with a 6-point lead. Still plenty of time. 6.5 remaining here in the fourth. Along with Matt Guokas and Jim Gray, Mike Breen on hand at Madison Square Garden. Miller. 3-pointer will not go, and Ewing will let it go out of bounds. Reggie Miller, the game's leading scorer, with 28. The Knicks have done a good job on the pass in the fourth quarter against him. He only had 2 free throws fourth quarter yesterday. A couple of games in the regular season, he had 1 and no points in the fourth quarter against the Knicks. Larry Johnson a 3. Johnson, not a good 3-point shooter. He's been affected by the line being moved out. Was a decent 3-point shooter from the old distance. That's probably not the shot Jeff Van Gundy wants. Rik Smits. Ball tipped out of bounds. Last touch by Ewing, but it was deflected off one of the Pacers. And the Knicks will get it as we're midway through the fourth.
During that last timeout, Jim Gray reporting that Dick Harder, the assistant coach for Larry Bird, pleading with his team to rotate to these shooters, not getting out quickly enough.
Chris Childs got a running start before he put the ball on the floor. And the Knicks turn it over for the 16th time.
But really, Mike, the problems for the Indiana defense initially is not containing the dribble, even if you have to give some steps up. You know, you got Mark Jackson and Chris Mullin out on the floor. They are not good defensive players as far as moving their feet.
Rik Smits answers right back. Smits now with 13. Knick lead is 4, 5.5 remaining in the fourth. Miller on Starks. Houston's on the bench right now for the Knicks. Ewing finding Larry Johnson. Beautiful pass from Patrick Ewing. And the Knicks back up by 6.
Excellent execution on the part of the Knicks on the little pick and flare. And then Larry Johnson just diving into the open area, covering up his defender. The extra pass made by Patrick Ewing as he continues to be a facilitator.
His third assist. Smits one-on-one with Ewing. Tough shot for Smits. Won't go. There was some contact as Childs comes the other way. 4-on-2 break. Alley-oop to Ewing. Touch pass to Johnson. Gorgeous feed from Patrick Ewing. And the Knicks have their largest lead of the game. Timeout, Indiana.
Patrick Ewing once again with the beautiful touch pass for Larry Johnson. Patrick Ewing making like a playmaker. Johnson over here going to dive right in the open area, and Patrick Ewing making the extra pass. 4 assists for Patrick Ewing, playing a complete game.
Ewing has not scored in the fourth quarter, but he's made several big plays as the Knicks their largest lead of the afternoon. Smits the drive. Rik Smits, beautiful move to the goal. Ewing went for the fake again, and Smits now with 15 points. 8 of his 15 here in the fourth. Ewing leans in, draws the foul. If they call it on Smits, that will be his 5th. Mullin was in the area as well. Terry Durham getting word from Dick Pavetta on who committed the foul. And it goes against Smits. That's number 5. See Reggie Miller, only 2 free throws in game 3 in the fourth quarter. So far here in the fourth, just 3 points, but there's still 4:23 remaining. As Ewing hits the first, and as anyone who knows the history of the Knicks and the Pacers, Miller can erupt at any moment.
So much of it has been Chris Childs' defense and the team defense of the New York Knicks, but there's also a big part of it where the Pacers are not really doing enough screening, enough pinning down to get Miller open.
Ewing 1 of 2, 15 for Ewing. Knick lead is 7. Jackson now being guarded by Childs. Mullin for 3. Antonio Davis the rebound. Miller a 3. Smits the rebound. Blocked by Ewing, but a goaltend. That one clearly on the way down. Good call from Terry Durham. And Rik Smits now gets credited with 2 more. He's got 17.
Here's Rik Smits on the follow-up. Patrick Ewing has it measured clearly on the way down.
Under 4 minutes remaining. Knicks holding on to a 5-point lead. Trying to even the series. Childs gets it out to Ewing, who puts it in.
Chris Childs making another valuable contribution. Chief State almost lost his footing there, able to get himself under control and make that feed.
6 assists for Childs. Smits the long range. It's good. Rik Smits from way outside. Smits now with 12 points in the quarter. First time this series we've hit the century mark by either team. Ewing against Smits. Patrick Ewing across the lane. Blocked by Antonio Davis. Pacers come the other way. They've got a 4-on-3. Miller underneath forces it up. Tried to draw the foul. Ewing the rebound. 3 minutes left. Knicks lead by 5. Charlie Ward kicks it out. Childs the drive, left-handed. Johnson's tip will not go, and Smits gets the rebound. Both teams pushing it up the floor.
I And two heavyweight fighters just wailing away at each other.
Jackson driving against Childs. Mark Jackson won't go. The tip misses. Ewing the rebound. Antonio Davis had position but couldn't put it down. And they're getting on their feet at the Garden. And the Knicks will call timeout. Standing ovation with just under 2.5 remaining. 5-point Knick lead here in Game 4. Patrick Ewing now with 17 points. We'll be back after these messages and a word from your local station.
In the second half, getting 60 of his 19. Much of it on the perimeter, but he's had a couple of good drives to the basket. The big question is, why didn't the Pacers go to Rik Smits early, try to challenge Patrick Ewing, and possibly get him in foul trouble?
Smits with 12 of the 15 Pacer points in the fourth quarter. Ewing, quick turnaround, way off Antonio Davis, the rebound.
The defense there by Smits to get right up on Patrick Ewing's favorite little spot on the floor, challenge the shot.
Approaching 2 minutes remaining. Knicks leading by 5. Childs following Miller through a number of screens. 8 on the shot clock. Miller, a foul before the shot. John Starks reached in. Knicks not over the limit. It's only the 3rd team foul. 5th on Starks, however, and the Pacers will inbound.
Mike, this is what I always wondered about good off-the-ball players and good shooters. When they had to work that hard to get open, how did they ever have enough strength to finally shoot the ball? Reggie Miller's done it for a long, long time.
For both teams, next foul puts them in the penalty. That's the first foul in the last 2 minutes as we're under the 2-minute mark. There you see Smits dominating in the 4th. Knicks 8 of 11 from 3-point range. And offensive rebounds very close. Smits the drive on Ewing. Ewing shuts him off, knocks it away. Smits turns and shoots and puts it in. Rik Smits again. 14 points in the 4th quarter, and it's a 3-point game.
Beautiful handoff fake by Rik Smits to get Patrick Ewing to relax defensively.
Minute and a half left in the 4th. Knicks trying to even the series at 2. Pacers looking to take a commanding 3-1 lead. Starks. Oakley with 6 on the shot clock. A travel. He would have been called for the offensive foul when he had walked before. Excellent defense from Smits.
Well, so many times this year for Larry Bird, he has finished the game with his bench. Here, Charles Oakley trying to make something happen. Totally out of control there. Referee Dick Bavetta had his choice. But Larry Bird challenged his bench players coming into this game to certainly play better than they did yesterday. He's not even gone to them. It would normally be Travis Best, Jalen Rose, Derek McKee, but he's been unavailable due to injury. Basically, Bird going with his starters, Antonio Davis instead of Dale Davis.
Just over a minute remaining. Knicks holding on to a 3-point lead. They've led by as many as 8 here in the 4th. Oakley picks up Miller. Smits tries to go backdoor, and Antonio Davis hammered by Oakley. And Davis will shoot 2. A hard foul from Charles Oakley.
This is a gorgeous pass by Rik Smits, who had Reggie Miller in his sights. That's who he was going to initially pass to it, but then made the better choice. But a terrific defensive play by Charles Oakley. That's a very hard playoff foul to prevent the dunk and put a shaky free throw shooter on the line.
A shaky shot, but it goes in for Antonio Davis, and it's a 2-point game with 58.4 remaining. He is perfect from the line this afternoon. Clutch free throws from Antonio Davis, who also hit 2 clutch free throws at the end of game 2 as he made the big plays down the stretch of that to seal the win. 58.4 remaining in the 4th. It's a 1-point game. Pacers battling back, trail by 1. Remaining, Pacers with 2 in the 20. Knicks with 1 and the 20. And this is the 4th time in the 90s these 2 teams have met in the postseason. First time in 3 years. Forgot how much fun it was. Pacers battling back. They've got to come up with a big stop right now.
And the Knicks usually in this situation have been going to high pick and roll. Pacers having trouble defending it. Keep the ball moving. Let one of the smaller players get it. Drive into the lane. If stopped, kick out to a shooter.
Knicks led by 8 with under 5 minutes remaining. They led by 7 with just over 3.5 to play. And now holding on to a 1-point lead. A crucial game for the Knicks. Ewing across the lane. The feed to Larry Johnson. Blocked, partially blocked by Antonio Davis. Houston has it with 7 on the shot clock, but he stepped out of bounds. And the Pacers will get it back with a chance to take the lead. 40.2 seconds remain. Antonio Davis again making huge plays in the final minute, much like game 2.
Well, it wasn't a small man breaking down the defense. It was Patrick Ewing, and then making the nice drop off to Larry Johnson, who couldn't finish.
Chance of defense again from the Garden crowd. Pacers showing real poise down the stretch. Rough pass, but Miller handles it. They're looking for Miller. Oakley comes up on him. Miller puts up the three. Won't go. Starks the rebound. Tries the outlet pass to Oakley, but Starks is fouled. Antonio Davis grabbed him. And the Pacers over the limit. Starks will shoot 2 with 19.3 remaining. And the Knicks holding on to a 1-point lead.
Well, it was Reggie Miller 1 for 4. In this fourth quarter, only 3 points. Clearly, the Pacers worked extremely hard to get him the ball, forcing the shot, and a good chase down by John Starks. A little surprised the Pacers didn't go to the hot hand, Rik Smits, in this fourth quarter.
Starks' first free throw attempts of the afternoon. He's only taken 2 in the series. For the season, he was at 79%. And the Knicks by 2 with 19.3 remaining. Again, the Pacers still have 2 timeouts left, 2 fulls, and a 20. Clutch free throws from John Starks. And Larry Bird will use one of his timeouts. Quarter, Madison Square Garden. Knicks lead the Pacers by 3. Reggie Miller in the fourth quarter, just 1 field goal. And you see his numbers from three-point range, 1 of 4. Overall for the game, Miller is 3 of 10 from downtown, but you have to expect he will take this shot.
You know, Mike, you don't necessarily need a three-point shot here. You're going to have Reggie Miller, Chris Mullin, outstanding three-point shooters, but the Knicks are going to be switching on everything, trying to run them off the 3. No, it doesn't hurt to get a drive or a 2, or even attempt at a 2, because if you get the offensive rebounder, an area that the Pacers are not very good, that's when the defense all of a sudden relaxes, and then you get a kick out and a possible wide open three-point shot.
Or if you just score the quick 2, then try for a steal or a foul, make the Knicks hit some more free throws. Patrick Ewing, 17 points. He's made some big passes in the fourth quarter. You saw Ewing shaking his head at Miller saying, no, not today. Smits, Antonio Davis, Jackson, Mullin, and Reggie Miller on the floor.
And I'm sure Jeff Van Gundy warned his team, watch Reggie Miller behind the three-point line, trying to jump into you.
Jackson gets it. Shot clock is turned off. Pacers down 3 with the ball. Miller looking, finding Smits. Smits leans in, puts it up, won't go, tipped out, picked up Mullin, kicks it to Jackson. Miller, a wide open 3. It's good! It's good! Miller ties it with 5.1 remaining. What a sequence for the Pacers as they've tied it at 102. Unbelievable.
Mike, it happens so much. The forced attempt by Rik Smits, but what happens is the defense so diligent about staying with the three-point shooter, in this case Reggie Miller, and all of a sudden you forget about him.
The Knicks played it well initially,
but with a guy like Miller and a guy like Mullin, you just have to, in this situation, you got to make sure that you stay with them throughout the play until you have the basketball. It's easy to say, hard to do, because you just wind up gravitating towards the ball.
Mark Jackson knew exactly where Miller was as soon as he got the ball. And Miller once again has silenced Madison Square Garden. Now the Knicks still have 5.1 remaining. They were holding their breath as Miller knocks it down once again. He terrorizes the Knicks here at the Garden. But again, the Knicks have plenty of time, 5.1 remaining, to get off a quality shot, and they still have a 20-second timeout, so there's not a problem inbounding the ball. Any foul by the Pacers would put the Knicks on the line.
Well, so many times through the years in this situation, the Knicks would somehow or other get the ball to Patrick Ewing, generally on that left wing where he can be a threat to drive it into the lane, spin back, shoot the baseline shot on that left side. You have to wonder whether or not Jeff Van Gundy would put that on Patrick's shoulder. I'm sure he wants the ball. I can remember many, many games in this situation where Patrick Ewing would demand the ball. But keep in mind, he is only back 3 games after missing 5 months.
So we're tied at 102. Remember, Miller was back in 95 in game 1, where he had 8 points in the final 8.9 seconds. As the Knicks thought they had the game wrapped up. But the Pacers were able to steal game 1 and they won that series. Jim Gray has told us that the #1 option for the Knicks as they come out will be Patrick Ewing. Childs, Starks, Houston, Ewing, and Ward. Ward will inbound from just inside the half-court mark. Dale Davis, Antonio Davis, Mullen, Miller, and Best out there for the Pacers on defense. Now they're going to make a change. Jalen Rose is going to come in. Let's see if they guard the inbounds pass. Rose comes in, Dale Davis sits down. Ward only 6'2". See if they try and distract him as he tries to inbound or give him a clear path. 5.1 remaining. It's all even. Dick Pavetta checking with Larry Bird about something.
An old rule of thumb is when you're playing at home, put the onus on the officials. If you get the ball, drop your head, drive to the basket to get a high percentage shot or draw a foul.
What they're doing, they're negating the substitution. Dale Davis had just checked in, but play had not resumed. Once a player checks in, there has to be at least one start of play before he can go out of the game. So Davis has to remain in until the next whistle.
And this could be a very tough matchup on the part of the Pacers. Keep in mind, only 5 seconds to go. But since Jeff Van Gundy has gone with 4 guards and Patrick Ewing, Dale Davis is going to have to guard a little guy, and it's going to be Charlie Ward, the inbounds passer.
So he'll stay in. Again, he had just checked in. You have to stay in for 1 possession. Davis waving the long arms. Ward gets it into Allan Houston. Houston struggling with his dribble. Houston on the drive. The runner. Short. And there's the buzzer. Game is over. Overtime here in game 4. A wild finish as the Pacers battle back. There's the overtime numbers. Pacers have done well. But what a comeback for the Indiana Pacers. Down by 8 with 5 minutes to go. Down by 7 with 3.5 to play. And Reggie Miller knocking down the 3-point shot with 5 seconds left. And they'll put an extra 5 minutes. Now foul problems become Antonio Davis and Rik Smits each with 5. Charles Oakley and John Starks, the only 2 with 5 for the Knicks. Ewing a back tap, but it goes right to Mullen. Houston starts off on Mullen. Starks is on Jackson, and Childs stays with Miller. Miller has it, 8 on the shot clock. Jackson with a wide open 3. Mark Jackson from downtown. And the Pacers take a 3-point lead. Jackson had all the time in the world. And Indiana gets on the board first in the OT. Starks. Ewing wants the ball. Single coverage now. Miller goes to help. Starks sets the 3. Way off. Jackson the rebound.
Well, not a bad idea to go into Patrick Ewing, actually going away with what's been successful, the dribble drive, but a good idea to try to get Rik Smits out of this game on fouls if you're the New York Knicks.
Smits has Johnson on him now. Ewing's on Antonio Davis on the switch. Jackson, the floater in the lane. Mark Jackson with 5 quick points. So there you see they're underway at the Forum. The Sonics leading the Lakers. We'll be going there immediately following this game. But Mark Jackson has quieted the Garden crowd now. 5 quick points in the overtime, and the Pacers lead by 5.
Well, Mark Jackson with the little teardrop, just tantalizing over Patrick Ewing, who never did get off the ground to challenge it. And Mark Jackson, who took a lot of heat, and rightly so, from Larry Bird about his actions yesterday, felt it turned the game around with the shimmying and the waving, turned it around in the favor of New York, said, that's enough of that. I guess that's about the closest Mark Jackson has come today to any kind of extracurriculars.
16 points, 15 assists for Mark Jackson. A sensational afternoon. And the Pacers lead by 5, just over 3.5 remaining in overtime. Allan Houston, Mullen right with him. Houston trying to draw the foul, throws it away. Wanted to get it to Johnson, who did not expect the pass. And the Pacers now in control. Jackson gets away from the double team. Smits, an open look. Ewing grabs the board. 5-point Pacer lead. Johnson driving past Smits. Throws it. Reggie Miller with the steal. Another turnover. Back-to-back for the Knicks here in overtime as we approach 3 minutes remaining.
It's as if the air has been taken out of the New York Knicks after the dramatic three-point shot by Reggie Miller. Coming into this overtime, all of a sudden, the Knicks got away from what they were doing so well and are very flat.
Miller forces it up, tries the tip, and Johnson comes away. 2:45 remaining. Knicks have still not scored in the OT. Ewing makes his move, left-handed, won't go. Smits the rebound.
And Rik Smits just let Ewing go that time. Wasn't even going to challenge. Does not want to foul out of this ballgame. And Patrick Ewing rushed it ever so slightly.
A 5-point Pacer lead, under 2.5 to play in overtime. Smits battling underneath, pushes it up and puts it in. Rik Smits again. And the Knicks need timeout. The Pacers starting to celebrate as they lead by 7. Knicks have yet to score in the OT. 2:13 remaining in the extra period. Rik Smits and the Pacers a 109-102 lead.
2-1 coming in. Here's Eddie Jones. The game, a wild runner. He has 2 points. Shaquille O'Neal leads the Lakers with 5, and Vin Baker with 4 as the Lakers have the early lead by 2 points over the Sonics. 11-9. Now let's get it back to Madison Square Garden and Mike Breen.
And a thank you. 2:13 remaining in overtime. Knicks now in a desperate situation, down by 7. They have yet to score in the OT. They've missed their last 8 shots, haven't had a field goal since there was over 3.5 left in the 4th quarter. Ewing with Davis on him, puts it up, way off, ball tip, and a loose ball foul call against the Knicks. And there is a look of desperation now on the Knicks players.
Now all of the things that were working throughout this second half and really throughout the game for New York have gone awry. They'll also give the Indiana defense credit. Much better at containing the dribbler, and that is what's taken Knicks out of sync.
Remember what Jim Gray told us about Larry Bird. Davis misses Houston to rebound when they were down 8. He said take it 1 possession at a time. That's exactly what the Pacers did. Houston throws away another terrible turnover for the Knicks in overtime. 3 turnovers in the extra period. Miller, that's a 3. It's good. Reggie Miller from downtown, and it's a 10-point game, and that one just may have done it with 1:28 remaining as the fans now heading for the exits here at Madison Square Garden. Reggie Miller torturing the Garden fans once again. A 10-0 run here in overtime. Fans here at the Garden, you see the Lakers out point lead in the first quarter at the Forum over the Sonics. But right here in game 4, 1:28 remaining in overtime. Knicks still have not scored in OT. Pacers with 10, and they lead 112-102.
Well, normally I say you don't have to start launching threes, but guess what? You got to start launching threes as Jeff Van Gundy wisely getting Patrick Ewing out at this juncture and save him for game 5.
Starks, though, drives and gets 2. That's the first points of the OT for the Knicks. But they're still down 8, 123 remaining. Knicks will try and go for steals and then perhaps foul. And there's the foul on Jackson. And Mark Jackson, no, he called a timeout before the foul. So Indiana uses a timeout. With 1:17 remaining, Pacers lead by 8. And Larry Bird's team under control right now as the OT winds down. We'll be
Our studios with an update of what is happening at the Great Western Forum as the Lakers lead their series with the Sonics 2-1. Shaquille O'Neal with a monstrous dunk has been dominant inside early. 11 points as the Lakers lead the Sonics 19-18. Vin Baker leads the Sonics with 8. Now let's go back to the Garden and Mike Breen.
And a thank you is Reggie Miller, once again the hero at Madison Square Garden for the Indiana Pacers. 34 points, including this 3-pointer with just over 5 seconds remaining to tie the game and send it into overtime, where the Pacers have dominated.
All of that coming off a missed layup attempt by Rik Smits, an offensive rebound by Chris Mullen, and the defense all sucked in and broken down, enabling Miller to get that wide open look.
Knicks don't want to foul Mullen. They're not fouling at all. Miller underneath and puts it in with 114-104. Lead back to 10, just over a minute remaining.
Well, for those Pacer people said that Reggie wears down, sometimes gets tired, not strong enough. I think he's proved them wrong today.
And a foul called. The reach in. Antonio Davis called for it. And Davis is fouled out. Davis made some big plays down the stretch, hit some clutch free throws, made a huge block in the final minute. Had some heroics as well at the end of game 2. Finishes with 6 points, 9 rebounds.
You got LJ. Yeah.
Next foul will be in the penalty. 1:01 remaining. Dale Davis is going to come in. Knicks down by 10.
Out of 32, Dale Davis replaces Antonio Davis for the Pacers.
There you see the score now. Seattle back up by 2. We will go to that game immediately following this one. Starks, that's a 2, won't go. Davis tips it to Jalen Rose. Rose looking ahead, trying to find someone. Knicks need to foul, but they're not doing it. And there Larry Johnson reaches in. And Miller will shoot 2 with 47.8 remaining. And the look on Larry Johnson's face tells it all for the Knicks, who blow an 8-point lead in the 4th quarter with under 5 minutes remaining.
Well, just what a huge difference with a 3-1 lead for the Pacers going back home to Market Square Arena. And keep in mind, that's a 3-1 lead with the home court advantage. You remember last year, the Knicks with a 3-1 lead over the Miami Heat, but did not have home court advantage. Of course, all that went on in Game 5 to change the complexion of that series, and the Heat ending the Knicks series there.
Miller now with 38 points. Remember, he also had a 25-point 4th quarter against the Knicks. Back in '94 in Game 5 of that series. Knicks did win that series as Starks drills a 3. But it's still a 9-point deficit for the Knicks. They fouled Jalen Rose. The Knicks' only hope now is if the Pacers go down and just start bricking free throws and they hit 3-pointers, and even if that happens, it's still going to be difficult, as Patrick Ewing, watching from the bench, 17 points, 8 rebounds for Ewing. He also had 4 assists, made some big plays in the 4th. But in the final minutes, the Pacers made all the big plays, as Rose will shoot 2. Pacers on the verge of taking a 3-1 lead. Rik Smits, what a turnaround for him. It's happened before. Teams have come back from down 3-1. As Matt was talking about, 6 different times it's happened, including last year with those crazy circumstances between the Knicks and the Heat. An 11-point lead for the Indiana Pacers. Larry Johnson with the 3. Jackson the rebound. Knicks backing off, will not foul. As the Indiana Pacers with a fantastic comeback here on the road. Down by 8 late in the 4th quarter. Reggie Miller once again puts a dagger into the hearts of Knicks fans. And the Knicks will suffer a devastating loss here at Madison Square Garden. Miller, a long 3. Final seconds, 7/10 of a second remaining. They'll just have to inbound, and that'll do it. But the Knicks are already starting to head for the locker room. And the fans will go home unhappy here at the Garden. Mark Jackson having words with Spike Lee. They inbound, final seconds, and that's it. The Indiana Pacers now with a commanding 3-1 lead in this best-of-7 series. Superb comeback by Rik Smits of the Pacers. Let's send it over to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. I'm here with Reggie Miller. Reggie, another big 3. You ever get tired of being a Knicks killer?
Well, I'm not really a Knicks killer. I almost choked for us when I missed the 3 in regulation to go up 2. And I was fortunate that I had another opportunity to at least tie the game.
Was it maybe the best play of the day, the best by Rik Smits on that layup?
Well, he got fouled, but they're not going to call a foul in circumstances like that. We were fortunate to get the ball out with some time left. We're swinging around. I was really surprised I was that wide open. Those are the scariest shots to shoot.
Down 8 with 5 minutes left to play. Larry Bird over in the huddle, I heard him say, Very rarely does he talk. He says, guys, it's one play at a time. And he looked right at you. He says, we're not going to get all 8 at one time. What was your reaction? What went through you?
Well, I told him it's possible. I've seen it before, but all we had to do was worry about getting stops. If we could get stops, we could score at the other end. Rik did a good job of carrying us in that fourth quarter.
Reggie, now it looks as though 3-1 with the home court advantage. Is it insurmountable?
No. This Knicks team has rose from all kinds of depths. They've had some great success in Market Square Arena. It's going to be a dogfight on Wednesday. And this is no guarantee at all.
Reggie, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, over to you, Mike Breen.
Thank you, Jim Gray. Perhaps none other than Michael Jordan has hurt the Knicks in the playoffs more than Reggie Miller, and he does it in overtime today. Once again, our final score in OT.
They lead by example. They lead with passion. In the Western semifinals, the Utah Jazz took a commanding 2-0 lead before San Antonio